There is only one thing worse than a rapist. Boom. A child. No.
Would you have joined up with her if you'd known she'd be indulging in this sort of thing, Astarion?
I mean, I had my hopes.
I am on to see my husband. I'm happy to see my husband. I'm happy to see my husband.
Oh, no, not from up there. Oh, man, deep trouble.
No!
Slam for the top rope.
You gotta be.
Ben Phoenix.
On the other hand. Oh my God!
Best game. Oh, amazing.
I can dual wield so long.
You want to just team up with some blood-stained killer? Because I'm fine with that.
They like the way I grind. They like the way I flirt. They like the way my nudie is peeking on my skirt.
Oh my God.
Okay, I am not gonna play Baldur's Gate today. I have too much to do and I have no time to play video games. I am a responsible adult capable of time management. What just happened? What the fuck just happened?
We could always make our own entertainment, darling. Get a little closer, so to speak. So, come up to the lab and see what's on the slab. I see you shiver with anticipation.
Do I have anything I can throw at this second thing? Do I have a scroll of firebolt? Okay. I
Did you know that you can build a mini atomic bomb in Baldur's Gate 3 using things that you find in the game all the time, and it costs almost nothing to use? First, all you need to do is find a satchel, backpack, or a pouch. Any of them work, but the bigger the bag, the bigger the explosion. It's because you can put almost anything in one of these, and what you're going to want to do is just fill it with a bunch of stuff like grease bottles, toxins, alchemist's fire, just any of the things that we would throw to cause damage, stuff it in a bag. And then from there, all you need to do is throw the bag at the foot of whomever or whatever you're trying to obliterate. That costs a character's action point. Then use another character's action point to shoot a flaming arrow or a firebolt at the bag, and boom, all of the things go off at once. It will cause your computer to chug significantly, but it will work, and it will deal a ton of damage. So if you're going up against a boss with unimaginable health and you just want to cheese it, this will probably take them out in one hit.
What in the sweet hells were you thinking, activating that lance? I was right there! Gods! Do you have any idea how much that hurt? Next time. No. If there is a next time, I'll be the one aiming your powerful weapon. Thank you. Although, I do appreciate you trying to fix your mistake. Just don't do it again. Now, shall we go? Or do you have any other chaos you need to unleash here? Gods. All right. What's on your mind? Excuse me. That was the least you could do after dropping a building on me. Well, apparently there's a limit. Somewhere between a nice summer's day and the full concentrated power of the sun! Next time, just warn me before you do something stupid. At least then I can get out of the blast radius. And I think I was safer with the mind flayers.
This is what your Baldur's Gate romance option says about you. Starting with Lae'zel, the gift Yankee with the stanky attitude. Let's keep it a buck. You have mommy issues. Either you want someone to tell you what to do, and you want to follow their every order, or you desperately seek to master your mommy issues by dominating her. You're basically Gur from Invader Zim. Next up, we got Gale, aka the human embodiment of the DMV. Because he's boring, but also he's in love with his ex, and you love that. You want so desperately to prove that you're better than his ex. You put up with his mansplaining and his terrible jokes. This is bottom of the barrel right here. I want you to do better for yourself. Please. Next up, Shadowheart. You love a chase. You love mystery. But you also like crazy ass women. You put up with her mood swings because you're soft, and you love a girl you can fix, but except you can't fix her because she has serious mental health issues. You want a big booty golf girlfriend so bad. Does Shigo or Raven were your childhood crushes? Next up, Will. You are painfully unproblematic. You are the definition of missionary sex with a person. You're a rule follower, you pay all your bills on time, and you think lingerie is you guys getting freaky in the bedroom. Next up, Minthara. You need professional help. You are the definition of Black Air Force energy. You pour your milk before your cereal, and you wipe from back to front. Next up, Astarion. Fatherless was a person, it's you. You have major daddy issues. You always chase the bad guy and think, I can fix him. You really need to worry about fixing yourself. Please go to therapy. You were a fan of Twilight growing up. Next up, Karlach. You have major abandonment issues. Of course, you find a girl that you can't touch. You put up with her anger issues. You have a habit with being with people who punch walls. On the flip side, you have a great sense of humor. Let's keep it a buck. You're probably a lesbian.
Here are some things you should do in the first act of Baldur's Gate 3 to set you up for success in the rest of the game. If you haven't started the game yet, or are considering starting over, there is a really powerful weapon that you can pick up in the early moments that is really easy to miss. This is Commander Zulk. He is someone that you run into on the Nautiloid, the Mind Flayer ship that you're on in the beginning of the game. Mind Flayer that is fighting Zulk commands you to head to the command console of the ship in order to steer it to safety. Zulk has a ton of health, so it makes total sense for you to just go to the command console and avoid this conflict altogether. However, if you are able to take him down, you are able to take his sword, which is way more powerful than any of the other starting weapons. Now, Zulk does have a lot of health, so if you're having trouble, if you have a character in your party that has the command ability, you can actually just command him to drop the sword, and then you can go straight to the console and avoid the battle. All of the companions you're going to find in the game are actually found in its first act. Make sure to thoroughly search during its opening hours. You're not going to want to miss any of them. For all the companions you can pick up in Act 1, there's Astarion, the High Elf Rogue. There's Lae'zel, the Githyanki Fighter. You have Gale, the Human Wizard. You have Will, with a Y, the Human Warlock. You have Karlach, the Tiefling Barbarian. And last, but certainly not least, you have the High Half-Elf Cleric, Shadowheart. Shadowheart is someone you're going to want to keep with you in your party pretty much at all times because of her ability to heal. Now, there are other companions that you can meet in Act 1, but who joins you is all based on story decisions that you make, so we won't spoil them for you here. Also in Act 1, you're going to want to find Withers. He is someone that will eventually join your camp and allow you to respec your character. Now, Withers will eventually come to your camp, but he will come earlier if you find him in his tomb in this crypt in the opening area. Little tip, if you find and get into this crypt, take all the weapons from the undead in it, because once you open up Wither's tomb, they will all come back to life, and if they don't have any weapons, they won't be able to fight you well. Those are some of the best tips for the first act of Baldur's Gate 3. Make sure to leave your tips in the comments below, and if you want more tips on the game, make sure to like and follow. These rapid-fire, not explained in the game, easy-to-implement tips in Baldur's Gate 3 will improve your game substantially. You already know you can dip your weapon into a surface covered in a substance for it to retain that substance and deal more damage. However, did you know you could dip off another character or an enemy? You can even dip off of yourself, so if you ever catch on fire, it's not all bad. You'll find a ton of candles in the world, pick them up, put them in your inventory, and drop them, and you can dip your weapon in that. Or you can just equip your torch, drop that, and dip your weapon in that as well. If you have a spider familiar or can become a spider, use it to run at goblins to clear them out. They hate spiders. Speaking of familiars, while they cost a spell slot, they are also retained through a long rest. So before you long rest, call your familiar, take that long rest, and when you wake up, you'll have all your health back, you'll also have all those spell slots back, and still have your familiar. If you have a small familiar or can become a small animal, like a cat, you can jump through gates if the hole is big enough. If you're in a dark area, a really safe way to light up the area ahead is to drop a coin, use the light ability on it to illuminate it, and then toss it into the distance. Almost anything can be sent back to your camp, including locked chests. So if you don't have lockpicking tools and you run across a locked chest, or you just want to do it later, you can pick it up, send it to camp, and then get it from your traveler's chest at camp to lockpick at your leisure. Speaking of sending stuff to camp, make sure to send all of your rations and camp supplies to camp, because they weigh a ton, but you don't need them on your person to utilize them for long rests. Just send them to camp, and even though the game is telling you you don't have enough supplies for a long rest, trust me, you do. Trying to disarm traps with your companions around can be very difficult because they like to easily step onto them. So make sure you ungroup companions from you when you run into an area with a bunch of traps. As you can see here, the companions on the left all have spaces in between them, which mean they are ungrouped. If you or one of your companions is stuck in fire, but there is blood on the ground, and someone has the ability to freeze something, you can actually freeze the blood and it will cancel out the fire. If you're coming up to an area and you can see that a battle is about to break out, go to some high ground, deploy a mage hand, and drop a few items down around it. Then the mage hand can be used in combat and just lob things that you have dropped at your enemies. Vents that are spewing noxious gas can just have a barrel tossed on top of them in order to prevent them from spewing that gas. A good tip to conserve healing potions is to gather your entire party into a cluster and throw a healing potion at the ground, and the splash from the healing potion will heal each of you equally rather than just being used on a single character. If you want to gain an advantage by climbing up a ladder and getting to high ground, and you don't want anyone following you, you can just destroy that ladder and prevent them from coming after you. Those are all of the quick tips we have so far, but make sure to go to our YouTube where we have even more in a longer, more thorough video, and make sure to like and follow for more Baldur's Gate 3 content.
It feels like recently a lot of RPGs have almost forgotten the role-playing part of role-playing games. Even though Cyberpunk 2077 is my favorite game of all time, I definitely agree that some of its design in terms of role-playing specifically is sorely lacking. However, in Baldur's Gate 3, this is the complete opposite. At the start of the game, you get to choose between a big list of classes and races, all from Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, and these choices are more than just set dressing. Throughout your entire playthrough, the decisions you make here in character creation drastically affect your experience for the hours to come. Each stat, every spell, and who you decide to make your character in terms of look and personality drastically affect every part of the game. I remember on one of my playthroughs as a gnome, I discovered that children had created a secret hideout underground, and one of the entrances was so small only my gnome could fit through, meaning that I had to go in alone without the rest of my party.
I can't fit through here. Wonder if there's another way in.
Still alive, so that's progress. Should mind my step.
But it's moments like that that make Baldur's Gate so special. Most games don't put this amount of effort into making your playthrough feel unique because, well, it's hard. It's hard to make content that is this diverse and interesting, and even more so, it sucks working so hard on different things that most players won't ever even see. The majority of races you can play as in Baldur's Gate are much taller than my gnome was, meaning you wouldn't have been able to even do this on most playthroughs, and instead you would have had to have found another way in. But it's that extra extra effort that Larian Studios is putting in here that really separates Baldur's Gate 3 from a lot of other RPGs. It truly feels like it's one of those games where you have genuine freedom to create any type of character you want. Even choosing different subclasses within each class will open up tons of new dialogue options, and situations that otherwise would have never shown themselves in other playthroughs. After playing over 8 different characters now, experimenting and seeing how the game changes, it's almost unbelievable how different one playthrough can be from another based on the character you're playing and the decisions you make. In one playthrough, you might kill literally hundreds of goblins and rid the entire region of their presence, and in another, you might be found partying and drinking with those same goblins after helping them out. Whoever you want to be, whatever character you want to make, the game allows it to happen. Want to be a badass villain who screams and pisses everyone off? You can do that. Want to be a goody two-shoes who tries to be the hero in every moment and save the day? Sure, go ahead. Want to be a sneaky rogue who steals from all the townsfolk and hides in the shadows while they complain to guards, only to then use that stolen money to pay bribes? The game lets you do all of it. You know, there's another super memorable moment on one of my playthroughs where I realized that because I was playing as a drow, the goblins in the camp who usually were very hostile to me on my other playthroughs were now extremely scared of me and would simply mumble and stutter as they let me by. Or another time when I first tried playing as a druid and realized I could transform into a massive and creepy spider, but even more than that, I could then go up and talk to other people in dialogue scenes as the spider, and people would react to it, along with me being able to now talk to other arachnids too. In almost every other game I've played where you can transform, the mechanic only carries over into new combat abilities, not a completely new experience in the game at every step. It feels like the game just gives you infinite possibilities to play exactly as you want. And more than anything I've ever played before, Baldur's Gate 3 fulfills that fantasy and freedom you would actually feel in person at a D&D table. Story moments aren't simply just a choice between a couple of dialogue prompts that nudge the story one way or another. The combat sections are more than just endless corridors of action. Everything in this game is meticulously designed around the idea of giving players complete and total control over their own experience. You can do things like distract enemies as the Bard class by playing your instrument in another room, sneaking across the rooftops and avoiding confrontation altogether, or just talking your way through everything while making witty banter. Your character's class, background, and choices are reflected in such interesting ways in the game, and it truly does feel like no matter what you do, the game is going to have a believable reaction to it. And this has another benefit I didn't realize at first either. When a game is structured like this, in the sense that the more and more you give to it, the more it gives back to you, it convinces you so much more to get wrapped up in it all. Things that I usually skip in other RPGs, like filler dialogue with vendor characters, now became a joy in and of itself because I knew how high quality the rest of the game was too. More than maybe any other game I've played, Baldur's Gate 3 focuses on putting more and more power into the hands of the player, and crafts an experience that truly rewards you taking your time and just role-playing, creating an entirely new person and adventure in your head with a game that lets you do all of it. But one of the most important parts of this formula is that Baldur's Gate 3 is a lot less rigid than other RPGs, because no matter how many options a game gives you, it's how a game reacts to what you do with these options that separates games from all other mediums.
Good morning, Uncle Gorgeous.
How much is this?
So buy 4, get 1 free.
I'll have the free one.
No, Gorgeous, you mean to pay for this? Gorgeous!